and coming to you live on this Thursday afternoon, and to have another great presentation for everybody to see what's going on in this housing market. It's been really a crazy last. I'd say it's been a crazy year, but this last month has been really crazy as far as interest rates are concerned, and the Fed, man, they've not missed a beat in getting on in front of a camera, on blogs, listening to radio interviews. They're all over the place. They're really trying to drum up as much attention as they possibly can on what they're going to do and what they're not willing to do. So let's go ahead and get it right into this presentation. Let's get it going. So this is the housing debrief, and I'm asking everybody to like and subscribe. Go to YouTube. I'd prefer everybody watching on YouTube, but you can, of course, watch it on Facebook as well. But youtube.com, and then just look for reports on housing. So youtube.com, we're reports on housing, all one word. So please like and subscribe. It gets more and more people engaged, and it gets the truth out there as much as possible so that everybody can make great decisions for their families and for their friends, and to really understand what is going on in the housing market right now today. And boy, I'm telling you, there is a lot going on. So we're going to talk about housing dwindles further, and interest rates have definitely been on the rise. As of today, they've actually jumped up to their second highest level of the year. They were at 7.08%. A week ago last Tuesday, but as of today, they're sitting right there at 7.04%. So, this is what 7.04% looks like on this. You could see the W. So we went down, and then it kind of was doing a few different things, and now it's back up. It came down off of its highs when the UK kind of fixed their financial turmoil that they were dealing with after they did this. They announced a big tax cut, and as a result of their reserve board stepping in, they were able to solidify things, and it helped out our interest rates and 10-year treasuries just for a moment. But then here we are, right back up towards 7%. And the last time we were above 7% was actually, if I date backwards and look at everything on the MBA, it's actually all the way back to 2002. And this is all from Mortgage News Daily. So I just went backwards, looked at it. 2002, we haven't been at 7% for a super duper long time. So, and a lot of people say, yeah, I remember when I had an interest rate of 8% or 9%, but I'm telling you, where values are today and you plug in where these interest rates are, they are so far out of bounds that anything above, really anything above 4.5% is where we start to really erode affordability. The further we get away from 4.5%, the more erosion that takes place. And right now, the remaining buyers that are actually in the marketplace today are extremely cautious. They're taking their time, and they are definitely not going to stretch. They're not going to overpay. This is not the marketplace for it. There is a lot of economic news that's out there. There's plenty of talking heads that are talking about what's going on in housing, including the Federal Reserve. I just heard one of the main Federal Reserve presidents talking about the housing market again today, and realizing how with rising rates, how it's like slamming on the brakes for housing. So they know what's going on, and still they are absolutely committed to maintaining the continuation of increasing the short-term rate, as well as draining their balance sheets. And they are not propping up any of the monetary system at all. They are not going to pivot like so many people talk about, like a lot of people thought. But the more they talk about it, and the more they bring up Paul Volcker, which is back in dates us back into the when in 1980s, 81, where we saw rates shoot up all the way up towards 18%. That was they're bringing up they're bringing up Volcker because they want you to understand that they are absolutely committed to bringing down inflation and getting it under control. So I did this for all the housing reports, but I wanted to do this for Southern California as a whole because it is extremely important. This slide is what it all boils down to. If you see, this is actually, I'm taking the median sales price of a detached home over time since January of 2018 all the way to where we are today. I know it says September. I plugged in today's rate just so you could see what that does to the payments, because actually the rate for September is probably going to be somewhere around 6.7 or somewhere right around that realm. But then once we get to October's rates, this is what we're going to be looking at. So when in plugging in the median detached price of a home over time, and then plugging in the interest rate at that time, and that's the orange line, you can see what that does to payments. Payments haven't really changed that much. We started off January 2018 at $2,200 a month, $2,213 per month, and that was with an interest rate at 4%. You go all the way until we get to right at May 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, where interest rates started to really go down. It was interest rates had hit 3.23%. And if you see that in the middle, the payment was actually less than where it was in January of 2018. It was at $2,208 per month. So these interest rates that came down because we were in COVID and we were locked down, they were doing everything they possibly could, buying mortgage-backed securities, bringing the federal funds rate down to 0%, and really, and they were propping it up in many other ways. The federal government and Congress doing their bit as well. So everybody was chipping in. So if you look at that, $2,208 per month it was an absolute steal. But you can see what happens over time. There's an erosion of that great value. And it's not because interest rates weren't low, it's because values were skyrocketing. But we still got interest rates that went down even more, because if you look at where it says 2.74%, that was in January of 2021, we were looking at right about a $2,400 per month payment. And then from there in 2021, it started to go up a little bit higher. If you look at where it says 3.07% right there, it said 2.9, then when it's 3.07%, that was actually October of 2020. And October of 2020, right here at 3.07%, you can see up here, $2,870 per month. So now we're starting to get up there a little bit in price, but there was so much demand still. And because millennials were coming into the equation, the demographics were all lining up with first-time home buyers, and there was not a lot of products available, that it kept on ratcheting up prices, and we saw prices continue to go up. We get to January of 2022, and we were at $2,970 per month. We were also at a 3.45% interest rate. And you could see from there, it just kept on going up. By the time we got to March, it was at $3,520 per month. Now we're looking at $4,252 per month in the month of in June, when we had that first really hot inflation read, and then interest rates hit 6%. And then in August, things eased a little bit, and we saw demand actually get a little bit better. And that's because it went from $4,252 down to $3,939 per month for the median detached home. But then along came the month of September. And from September 1st, that is when all of a sudden there was this pivotal point. From September 1st on, interest rates kept on rising. And as of today, we're looking at a 7.04% interest rate. That is a payment of $4,779 per month. That is more than double where we were at the beginning of the pandemic, where we were locked down. So if someone said, when you talk about interest rates, is that with no points? Yes, this is with no points. This assumption is actually 10% down. I know that we could do better, and I know that there are lenders out there that say, I can beat this thing all day long. However, you get the general idea that if you plug in 1 point over time, you're going to get the same gist. All the payments will come down, and you'll get the same elevation when we get to where we are right now as of today. And so that's what's going on with interest rates over time. Now, I also did this for, so buyers have done their calculations of things. They definitely have. And if you wonder why there's been a shift in demand, it's because if you look at this is Los Angeles. In January of 2020, you're looking at 2,534. Then in October of last year, a year ago, you're looking at 3,249. And today you're looking at $5,140 per month. Orange County, 3,509 to 4,287 a year ago to $7,214 per month. So far out of bounds. And Riverside, 1,705 to 2,220 to $3,727. And San Bernardino from 1,334 to 1,703 to 2,842. And you're seeing there, some people are going, well, that's not that bad of a payment. But if the median income for San Bernardino and Riverside is a bit less. And if you are used to a certain payment on a monthly basis, going from $1,334 per month to $2,842 is way too big of a swing. San Diego from $2,709 to $3,253 to $5,321 per month. And this is on a monthly basis. So when you you see how big of a change this is. You're looking at over $2,000. So you're looking at 2,000 times, you're looking at over $25,000 per month difference. That is a gigantic difference from January to 2020 to where we are today. It's a big difference when you're looking at January 1 of this year to today, but to look at it all the way from when we first went into right prior to COVID to where we are today, it's a big, giant change. And yes, incomes have risen a bit since January 2020, but they're not making up this difference. They have not kept up with this giant change in payments. So as a result, we have low demand. And we were already dealing with low demand before, but then if you look at here, we have an inflection point, and that inflection point is September 1st. And you can see it. So we were kind of going, we went down and it started to go up a little bit. That was during the month of August. We had interest rates that were more favorable all the way down to 5%, but they went all over the place. But still, demand improved a little bit because of the lower interest rates. And then when we got to September 1st, you could see it started to trail down. And that is because the market was digesting these rates that were continuing to go up. As a matter of fact, from September 29th, that was last Thursday, we were 11,092. It actually went down 8%. And I did this report last Thursday, and then we actually put together all the report that evening. There were more homes that fell out of escrow or closed, and the total pending count for the last 30 days actually diminished quite a bit. So it went from to in the 900s to 1,009. So it went down 1,000 pending sales in just a 2-week period of time. So last year at this time, we were at 18,150, which is 64% higher. That's the red line. And then the 3-year average is 14,840. That's prior to COVID, 2017, 18, and 19. So just about 15,000. That's 34% higher than where we are today for all of Southern California. Today, we're at 10,532, which is down another 5% since last Thursday. So you could see this continuation because interest rates we're absorbing these higher interest rates that are darting anywhere from about 6.5% up to 7%. So this is this new area where it just makes things so expensive that it has really brought down demand even more. As a matter of fact, since the pivot, that inflection point on September 1st, we were at 12,498. So basically 12,500. We are now at 10,500. So you could see losing 2,000 homes, it's down 16% since September 1st. We're just talking, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later at this point. So in Los Angeles, from September 1st through today, Los Angeles is down 16%. Orange County is down 18% in demand. Riverside is down 14%. San Bernardino is down 13%. San Diego is down 13%. And Ventura is down 13%. Now, overall, for all of Southern California, typically from September 1st to right now, it goes down 5%. Not these giant chunks. Matter of fact, some of these are such big drops in demand that it's the biggest drop so far this year. And typically, we're not really seeing that right here at this point. But it was a gigantic drop when we were digesting some higher interest rates earlier in this year, and we started to see some drops. We've now really seen some significant drops recently. So I wanted to thank our sponsor, JMJ Financial at the Thibodeau Morel Group. He has been sponsoring this thing loyally for a long time. Thank you, Jason Thibodeau, for your continued sponsorship. You can contact him at 714-330-8263. And they have an earnest money EMD, it's earnest money deposit protection program, where you put a little bit of money down and it will protect that earnest money deposit if you can't go through the transaction. And if you end up funding and closing, you get that money back anyways at the end. And then they also have a lock and shop mortgage option, which you understand why you might need to do that in this kind of an environment where the rates are all over the place. So they do have those that feature available as well as 2-1 buy down. So if you've got a buyer on the hook and you're a seller and you don't want to come down too much in price, how about throw at them a 2-1 buy down so they can get that mortgage rate down to a much more favorable place as well. So they've got those kind of programs as well. And their methodology is simple. We don't make promises we can't keep. So they really have been doing a fantastic job, even in a slower market like this. They are absolutely killing it, crushing it, because they know they know how to deliver the goods in this kind of a marketplace. So contact JMJ Financial, Jason Thibodeau. You can contact him at 714-330-8263. That's 714-330-8263. And by the way, if you're ever interested in becoming a sponsor of the Housing Debrief, contact us. We have anywhere from you can do month at a time or one episode at a time. So contact us. You can ping us any way that you'd like. Now, as far as where we are right now, we are in the midst of a fall market. Kids are back at school. We are officially in fall. It's finally that heat's gone. It gets warm during the day. It gets cool at night. You can open your windows. It's fantastic, right? That's the fall market. The fall market is when typically inventory drops slowly, and so does demand. So when I said that typically the demand drops 5% during this time period, at this time also, inventory drops 5%. It's almost at the same pace, and then the market doesn't really change. The expected market time, the amount of time it would take to sell all homes after placing your home on the market when you open up escrow, pretty much stays the same all the way from now until you get to about December, and then it does some various things in different years. But inventory drops, demand drops, and it's all slow. So let's talk about the inventory. And you can see this inflection point. Prior to that, we were actually had already entered into the autumn market, because once the kids go back to school, it's right around the second, third week of August, we start to see the inventory start to fall. And typically we peak in the inventory between July and August. We did do this peak. However, since peaking, it's come down, but that coming down like it should have 5% in the last 4 weeks, you could see it's actually flat. And that is not normal. And that's just, it's not because we have a whole bunch of new homeowners coming on the market. It's because demand is actually diminished more. And so when you get that diminished demand, that's what happens. So on September 29th, we were at 30,433. That's where we were. It was actually 0% change. Last week I had it as a negative. This week I have it as a positive for the end of last Thursday, and that's because, like I told you, we had some cancellations. We had more homes coming on the market at the same time, and it allowed it to grow a little bit above the prior 2 weeks, going up 123 to 30,433. Last year at this time we were at 19,517, which is 36% less. We had never seen a market with that little homes at the very, very end of September, start of October. For all of Southern California, we were hitting already new records, and it was going to record territory by the time we started off this year. The 3-year average prior to COVID is actually 40,934. That is 35%. That is 35% higher than where we are today. So you can see we're still dealing with diminished inventory. It's still a crisis. There's not enough homes on the market. Today, we're at 30,142. That is 1% less than where we were just last week. So it's come down a little bit, but like I said, it's very sticky. It's staying flat, and that's only because demand is coming down so quickly that it's not allowing what would have actually gone into escrow if we had lower rates is not going into escrow, and we're having the few homeowners that are coming on that are lingering on the market for a little bit longer. So what is the overall speed of let's see. There's our inflection point. So you could see the expected market time was actually going down slightly. And then we hit this inflection point where interest rates started to really rise from September 1st on. And from that point on, we actually have seen a change. What has happened is the market has actually slowed. If you see the red line, green line, even the purple line, that was 2019, that was prior to COVID. It's flat pretty much until you get to the very end of the year. Sometimes you can get a spike up or down. There's different things that happen in December. Just depends upon the velocity of December. But December is not really that big of a month as far as real estate is concerned anyways. But you can see this is a real inflection point that has shown itself right here in the inventory curve. What should have gone down 5% instead has actually gone up. So on September 29th last week, it was at an 82-day expected market time, the inventory and the expected market time. You can see the expected market time is gone from, it went up 1 week in the prior 2-week period of time. So that's a significant change. For it in a couple week time to add a week to everybody's expectations, usually you only get a change of like maybe a day or two at the most. None of this 7 days in a 2-week period of time. That is a big, giant change. It's the slowest since April 2020. That puts us right back into where we were during the pandemic. So understand that. And then it's actually also very, very close to where we were. 3-year average is 84 days. And that's very close to where we are as of last Thursday. Today, we're at 86 days. So we went from 82 to 86 in just the last week. And what that is, once again, that's demand falling and inventory rising or staying flat. And it's as a result of plunging demand down to new levels because of these higher interest rates, the market is continuing to slow down. This is for all of Southern California. Since September 1st, we have gone from 72 days to 86 days. So we've gone from, we've actually added a 2-week window in the last 4 weeks. So now everything on the market's looking at an expected market time of an additional 2 weeks than where we were at on September 1st. That is a big, giant change. And what it was lining up to be kind of a slight seller's market is not really a slight seller's market. And the reason for that, I went into last week's presentation, and that is these very, very extremely high rates have put so much pressure on buyers that it's dwindled the buyer pool, where the remaining buyers are not willing to stretch. They're not willing to overpay. Instead, they would like a bit of a discount. And they're being very patient, very shrewd. And those sellers that really need to sell and have the motivation to sell might have to take a little bit less than what their next door neighbor got. And that's what we refer to as where values are actually going down. They're not plunging down because there's a real stickiness to the market because we don't have that many people that absolutely have to sell. But if we get more unemployment down the road where there are more people that have to sell, that could change. We'll just have to continue to stay tuned. But what this kind of a market is this new normal where it feels like a buyer's market, even though there aren't that many options of homes that are out there. So you have to treat it like that if you're a seller. Pretty much it's lining up as far as negotiations are concerned for the buyer. And I wouldn't refer to it as a, quote, buyer's market. The reason for that is it's the values are interest rates are so high and values are so high that those payments are so high that it makes it a little bit prohibitive for a lot of buyers to purchase. And so that's why I want to state it as negotiations line up in the buyer's side. In the buyer's column. So property prices are going down at a slow rate, but get this, by the time we get to the end of the year, we're projecting that we'll be at 0% year over year for Southern California. So that means that when you're looking at where we are value-wise at the end of December and looking at December the prior year, it's going to be pretty close to zero because we are coming down from those frothy comps earlier in this year, and that's what we're giving up right now. And as far as where I think we're going to go in 2023, well, I have a forecast and I just started presenting it a couple of weeks ago, so I can bring that to offices as well as to lunch and learns and things like that. So if you want to copy this, you have to be a subscriber to the housing report. You can go to reportsonhousing.com, click over there on subscribe, And we have reports that all over Southern California. I did a big chunk of the Bay Area. We are nearly finished with that thing. I just have a few more counties to go because we're lumping them all together. So $15 per month or $150 per year. You get a month free, and you will get, I don't know why it says that. I guess I forgot to show what it is. Not hunkering down, it's sky high rates. So you can get the most recent one, sky high rates. The coupon code is RATES. Go to reportsonhousing.com. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to answer them once we're offline. But thank you so much for staying tuned in, and we will see you next week. Have a fantastic